that I missed 2 weeks of recording this podcast. I think in my brain sometimes I get a little bit, this is the thing that I'm focusing on, this is the thing that I'm doing right now, and I've been really good at being consistent with my YouTube channel and doing all my deep dives and my commentary and all the kind of stuff, that I kind of forgot that I also have this podcast, because I've separated the two. Since January, I've been separating them and making the podcast a completely different thing than my commentary YouTube channel, because people said that they loved the deep dives that I was doing, but they also missed the old kind of dynamic, the way that I was doing my podcast at the start, where I was just kind of chit-chatting. It wasn't any like research or whatever, and I was answering your guys' questions, and we were just kind of like talking a bit of shit and having a bit of a catch up and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, to be honest, I completely agree. I missed that as well. So that's what we're doing here. So I've been focusing more on my YouTube channel, but now I want to also build my capacity and increase and expand my capacity to also focus on, on more than one thing, which I feel like I can do. I can definitely do that. It's not that hard. I can definitely do it. So I'm going to do this podcast, and I have made a email address, girlbonespodcast@gmail.com. So if you have any questions or any sort of like scenario that you think that I might be able to help you with, and you want me to answer your questions, if it's related to anything really, but if it's related to any sort of trauma or any sort of recovery or any like attachment issues or breakup situations, or am I overreacting? Am I being an asshole? Any of that kind of stuff in relation to all the stuff that we usually talk about on the podcast. So it could literally be anything really. Or if you're feeling stuck, or if you need any sort of help with whatever situation that you're going through, I would love to hear from you, and I would love to be able to bring it here and give you a deep dive, ranty answer. So I actually have a few questions that people have asked me previously through my old portal to answer questions, which doesn't exist anymore, but I still have the replies or whatever. So there was one in particular that I wanted to talk about, and then I actually found a question on Reddit that I thought was really interesting that I wanted to talk about as well, about anxious attachment. Anyway, before we get into any of those questions, how are we doing? How are we settling into January? It is now January 27th. It is one of my best friend's birthdays. Happy birthday, Momo. And how are we feeling? How is this year already feeling? So currently in Ireland, there's like biblical floods going on. So I was going to go to the gym this morning because I've been locked the fuck in with my gym the last like 2 weeks. So I wanted to get up and go to the gym this morning, but then I ended up sleeping through my alarms and woke up quite late. And my son was like an hour late for school. Sorry, I hope his teacher doesn't listen to this, because I told him that he was at the doctor's, but whatever. Anyway, yeah, I ended up sleeping through my alarms, and then I was like, okay, I'll go to the gym later. I'm not going to go right now this second. Everything's a bit too panicked. It's a little bit too chaotic. I don't want to like force myself to go and do loads of crazy heavy shit when I'm not like properly woken up yet. Like I'll give myself a few hours, and then I will go to the gym after lunch or whatever. And then thank God I didn't go to the gym, because I would have been stuck in traffic. It is now 2 p.m. and there are still people stuck on that road, the road that I was going to go on to go to the gym. There are still people stuck on that road that were trying to get into work at 9 a.m. So it is now, oh my God, I can't do it now. Don't ask me to do maths. 9 to 12 is 3 plus 2 is 5. So 5 hours later, people, well, it would have been before that, because people have to be in work at 9. So they would have been stuck on that road for like 6 or 7 hours potentially, because all of the roads are flooded. All of the roads onto the main road are flooded. So I'm really glad that I didn't go to the gym. I am sad that I didn't get a good workout in, but I'm really glad that I wouldn't have got it. I wouldn't have got a workout in anyway, even if I did go to the gym. I would have been stuck in that traffic. So no, thank you. And if you remember on my last episode, my ins and outs for 2026, traffic was one of the things that I did not want to do this year if I could avoid it. So thank you to the snooze gods, or whoever made me sleep through my alarms this morning, because you saved me from ending up being stuck in traffic for like 6 or 7 hours potentially on flooded roads. So thank you. we're manifesting. And sometimes the things that we're manifesting, they come to us in unusual ways. You know, that's why I think we have to be a little bit more kind of open-minded and open in general about how we receive the things that we ask for. You know, I'm manifesting not sitting in traffic. I'm bringing that in. I'm open to the energy of not sitting in traffic if I don't have to. And the way that manifested was that I slept through all my alarms and I was late this morning. But anyway, I'm joking, obviously, but also not really. Okay, so what else? I had a spooky accident in December with my car. I think it was the start of December, where I was driving my car on the motorway and I was actually driving it to the mechanic, who happens to be my brother. And I was driving it to the mechanics, on the way to the mechanics, because there was an issue with one of my fuses. Okay, so not that big of a deal, easy to fix, whatever. Driving it to my mechanic, my brother, and on the way to the mechanics, everything like failed, like all of my electrics failed. I lost my power steering, I lost all of my electrics, every single thing. I couldn't steer the car, and like the dial that shows you how fast you're going was like ooh, like spiraling like this. So that was really spooky. And everything was fine. I didn't get hurt. There was no crash. Like there was nothing. I was able to like manage to like scooch over into the hard shoulder. So like everything was fine. But just that incident of like that scared me so much, and I didn't drive for a few weeks after that because I was actually too scared to drive. It gave me like car anxiety or whatever. And I've been driving for a really long time. I've been driving for like 13 years, so I'm fine. You know what I mean? I don't have car anxiety. I don't have driving anxiety. I'm a really safe driver. But that situation, there was something about that situation that I was like, oh my God. And then I started to like not trust my car anymore, even though it's completely fine. It got fixed. It was just the alternator, easy peasy, whatever, no big deal. But in my head, I was like, it's gonna blow, like something really big is gonna happen, something like tragic is gonna happen if I drive my car. But I got over that fear. I'm driving again, but I would have hated it anyway. I would have hated it if I recovered from my spooky car situation and then ended up going to the gym and being stuck in floods. That might have reignited, and traffic, that might have reignited a car fear in me, which, you know, whatever. So anyway, I'm glad I didn't go to the gym. I'm glad that I was late this morning. The universe works in mysterious ways and all of that kind of stuff. Anyway, so how are we settling in to January? And I think this January has gone really fast, to be honest. I feel like the 27th of January, like how a month ago was Christmas, like how I feel like that just went really fast, but it also feels like it was like so far away. I don't really know, don't really care, whatever. I'm glad to be moving towards the light. I'm glad to be moving towards the spring. I'm glad to be moving towards the blossoming, the blooming, the sprouting, the flowers coming out, the daffodils, the bluebells, the birds chirping again. I'm happy to be moving towards spring. I'm happy to be moving towards that, and away from darkness, away from, oh my God, it's been so grey in Ireland for the last like 2 weeks. It has been raining non-stop, like biblical rains in Ireland in the last 2 weeks. And it isn't going to stop anytime soon. Look at my phone. I'll show you my I just checked the weather app to see what is in store for us weather-wise over the next few weeks or over the next few days. Look at this. I'll show my camera. Can you see? Yeah, that's not good. And then the next one, like every single day. Sorry if you're just listening, but basically just rain every single day for the next like 10 days because it's giving me a 10-day, the iPhone weather app thing. It gives you like a 10-day prediction, and it's raining as fuck. It's like really, really wet, and anyway, so I'm happy to be moving away from that and moving towards spring, moving towards February, moving towards March, moving towards the little lambs springing around in the field and all of that good stuff. Barbecues and holidays and beaches and swims, going to my river. If anyone remembers from a few years ago, I used to go to this gorgeous river that's like 15 minutes away from my house. I used to spend a lot of time there, and the last 2 years I haven't been there as much because I was doing other stuff. But this year I'm really happy to reconnect with the river and spend more time with the river during the spring, during the summer, and during the autumn as well. It's really beautiful to be there, and it's so cold. Like, the fresh water from like the mountains is a different flavor of cold than the sea. The sea is cold as well, but there's something about the fresh water that is just so cold, and I think it's something to do with the size of the water molecules. I did look into it before, but I can't remember. I think the salt water molecule is bigger than the freshwater one, so it actually can hold more heat or something like that. So even if it's really cold, there's still a little bit of warmth in it compared to a freshwater molecule, something like that. I can't remember. Maybe those things are flipped. I can't remember. One sec, I need to put Vaseline on. Okay, so I broke my microphone arm stand thing yesterday. It's here and it's connected to my desk, but it's not connected to my desk. As you can see, it's off my desk, and the part where it connects to the clamp it's missing a part, and I don't know where it's gone. I think it's somewhere in my room. It fell off yesterday and everything broke into a million pieces and just like spilled off everywhere, and I can't find the bit that tightens. Anyway, that's why I'm holding this today, because the show must go on. Anyway, let's read a question from someone who sent this in a few months ago, maybe. Yeah, the last time I was answering questions was actually quite a while ago. So I have a few of these saved from, as I said, like the previous portal, my previous email where people were emailing me. And if you want me to answer your question, you can email girlbonespodcast@gmail.com. I'll leave that linked below if you want to just copy and paste it into your mail app or whatever, your Gmail app or your phone app, whatever you're used to send emails. Everything will be anonymous, obviously, and I won't, if there's any like identifying details, I'll just like leave them out or change them or whatever, if there's any like names or whatever left in. Okay, I have been told, this is the question, I have been told that I have an anxious attachment style. So I'm trying really hard not to project or overreact, but I constantly feel like I'm on edge in my relationship. My partner says he's committed to me, but he often takes hours or sometimes a full day to reply to my messages. When I bring it up, he says he's just not on his phone that much. Even though I can see that he's active online, he's just not opening my messages. Is this about me? This sounds familiar. Is this me? Is this me writing this? When I bring it up, he says he's not on that phone that as much, even though I can see that he's active online. He's just not opening my messages, and he's always on his phone when we are together. He doesn't really ask me questions about my day unless I prompt him, and when I'm upset, he goes quiet or changes the subject. He's also still talks to his ex as a friend. Oh my God, is this about me? Is this girl me? Is this me? And he gets defensive if I ask for reassurance or clarity. I've tried to be chill about it because I don't want to be controlling, but inside I feel tense all the time, like I'm waiting for shit to hit the fan. He stopped making any real effort in the relationship, and I hate the feeling of him slipping away, so I try not to put too much pressure on him. I'm constantly monitoring myself, I'm constantly monitoring myself. Am I asking for too much? Am I being insecure? Is this my anxious attachment sabotaging a good relationship? I don't want to lose him, but I also feel like I'm shrinking myself to stay calm. So yeah, okay. So there's a lot here. And there's a lot of evidence also to suggest that like the anxious attachment or the attachment styles aren't as valid or aren't as set in stone as the way that some people use them. So I think they're handy sometimes as a little bit of a blueprint, a loose kind of blueprint, just to get a bit of an idea of how we're reacting, how we're responding to certain situations, or our patterns that we've had in the past, in past relationships or in past situations. Overall, like I tend to act a little bit more anxious, but I have overall dealt with people who trigger that anxiety, and that anxiety was an appropriate or justified response to a lot of situations that I was feeling. It wasn't that I was just going around being anxious for absolutely no reason. Like, do you know what I mean? So when I hear people saying that I've been told I have an anxious attachment style, and then they explain everything, and then they tell you some more details and they tell you some more things, and it's like, well, it makes sense that you would feel anxious in those situations. So maybe you don't need to pathologize your feelings and diagnose yourself as having some sort of something wrong that needs to be fixed. Maybe the way that you're maybe the way that you're responding is completely appropriate to the situation that you're dealing with. Do you know what I mean? And this is why I don't really like when people like over pathologize maybe, or over identify with some of these like attachment styles, or I'm anxious or I'm avoidant or whatever, because certain situations will trigger certain responses which are appropriate and are completely understandable. Do you know what I mean? So I basically have been in this situation before where I had been with a partner who would disappear for a few days and he would not open my messages, but I would see that he was online. So he would completely avoid me and not open my messages, didn't open them, didn't respond to me, but he was on his phone talking to other people, clearly because he was online. So he was getting messages or sending messages or whatever to other people, but not me. And then obviously after a few days he would be like, oh shit, I better talk to her and, you know, reconnect there, or she's going to be annoyed. That situation is very anxiety inducing, especially if you're fully in a relationship with someone. Like if you're just dating someone, or if you're just getting to know someone, like you know, whatever. But in this situation where you're like, you are committed to your partner, you and your partner are obviously committed to each other. I don't know how long you've been going out. I would like to know that detail. Also, if you're living together, I would like to know that. But I just think everyone has stuff that they need to work on. Do you know what I mean? None of us are out here fucking perfect angels, but like I think that blaming ourselves, I have all these things that I need to work on because I'm overreacting, or I'm projecting, or I feel anxious, I need to fix myself. And it's like, no, actually I don't think you do need to fix yourself. I think you need to I don't think you need to change in order to adjust to someone else's disrespect or someone else's inability to be a considerate, thoughtful partner. I don't think you need to adjust and change yourself so that you can accommodate that or tolerate that or learn how to put up with that. I think your body is reacting appropriately to this situation and is like, this is not okay, this is not right. Do you know what I mean? I also think as well that people are who they are, and I think that there's a certain amount of communication that is good, and there's a certain amount of giving people grace and giving people the space to change and to do better and to learn how to be considerate or thoughtful or accommodating. But people ultimately are who they are, and if this is who he is, then he deserves to be exactly who he is. And there might be someone out there who would be completely fine with the way that he's behaving, and there might be someone out there who completely matches that with him, you know, who wouldn't ask him for anything more than the bare minimum, who would be totally happy with breadcrumbs, and that's maybe what she would give him back in return. But if you're someone who requires more and you want deep connection, you want actual attunement, you want actual thoughtfulness, effort and consideration, and that's what you offer, then it's completely fair to want that in return and to want that to be reciprocated and not just one-sided. Because I've been there, hands up if you've been there, I've been there before, and it's a really horrible place to be with someone who is doing less than the bare minimum. And I've also been in this situation before, someone who is friends with their ex, stays in contact with their ex in an inappropriate way that makes you feel uncomfortable, and they literally don't care how it makes you feel. They literally do not care how it makes you feel. And that's also not a good place to be. Like, it's not a good place to be worried about the girl before you, worried about someone who should be completely in the past but is still not. They still have this avenue of connection with them, or they still have this access to them in whatever way, and they're still interested for whatever fucking reason in what their ex is doing or what their ex is getting up to. That is not a good place to be, especially if you have communicated it and he gets defensive when you're asking for clarity or reassurance. His immediate thought is to get defensive. That's like, maybe there's nothing going on, but just the fact that he does not have the capacity to understand why that would be bothering you, And how would he feel? Again, I hate that these, like, you always, with men like this, you always need to give them a hypothetical. How would you feel if it was me doing that to you? How would that make you feel? And you get to a certain point where it just isn't worth it anymore. It is just not worth it anymore to try and explain to someone who is just committed to misunderstanding you. Someone who is committed to misunderstanding you. No matter what you say, no matter how clearly and no matter how logically you present your argument, and no matter how many times you try and say it in other ways, they're not going to hear you. So my question is, this guy, maybe he is capable of change, but it doesn't look like he's willing to change. It doesn't look like it. It looks like he's moving away from you. He's affecting you really badly. He doesn't make you feel safe. He doesn't make you feel stable. He doesn't make you feel secure. The only good thing that you said about him in this was that he says he's committed to me. So you are taking what he says at face value. That's the only good thing that you said about this guy. He says that he's committed to me, but then he does all these other things. His actions are saying a completely different story to what his mouth is saying. Do you know how easy it is to open your mouth and say something? I'm doing it right now. Blah, blah, blah. It is the easiest thing to do, to open up your mouth, make noise, and for words to come out. And I think as women, words of affirmation should be cancelled for women. If you're a woman and you love when your man says all the right things and tells you how amazing you are, I think that needs to be cancelled, because it's too easy to just say words. I think it's just too easy to say words. And as a woman, I don't think I think we need to be a little bit more like, I'll see it when I believe it. I hope you're telling the truth. I really hope that you mean what you say, but I will see it. I will believe it when I see it. Do you know what I mean? When I see it, I'll believe it. It's very easy for someone to open up their mouth and say something because they want something from you, or they want to keep you quiet, or they want to keep you happy, or they want to give you a little few breadcrumbs to shut you up or whatever, because you want reassurance. Or And I've also been in that situation before where someone was just saying something, saying the right things through gritted teeth, saying the right things, but then the actions were completely not matching up with the words that were coming out of his mouth. And you have to believe the actions. You have to believe the actions, because it is just too easy to open up your fucking gob and say something. It's too fucking easy. So we can't take that, unfortunately. We can't take that as Bible. We can't take that as gospel, or we can't take that as, well, he said that. Yeah, of course. Because he wants you, he wants to keep you there for his own reasons. He doesn't want you to go. So it kind of sounds like he's just a bare minimum boyfriend, and he will just say enough, sprinkle a few breadcrumbs down to keep you happy for a little while until the next situation pops up, and then he'll just sprinkle a few breadcrumbs when he needs to, in order to just kind of shut you up, basically, and to kick the can down the road, or to just not have to deal with it or communicate properly in any way, in any real way. And my question is that people are who they are. Like, people are who they are, and he is well within his rights to make as much effort as he wants or doesn't want to make. He is within his rights to be as considerate or as inconsiderate, as thoughtful or as thoughtless as he wants to be, and that's just who he is. And there's I think it's good to communicate. I think communication is always really good, to give people chances and to give people, a fair chance to adjust and accommodate and grow and do better. And the way that we do that is communicating our problems clearly. But if you've done that over the space of a year, over the space of 2 years, over the space of 3 years, and like nothing is changing, and he's still behaving like a bare minimum ass, breadcrumbing, making no effort, saying the right thing, but like not doing anything, my question would be, is this good enough for you forever? Like, do you want to be loved like this forever? Do you want a bare minimum boyfriend? First of all, no. Do you want that bare minimum boyfriend to turn into a bare minimum live-in boyfriend who you're living with? No. Do you want that bare minimum boyfriend who you're living with to turn into a bare minimum fucking husband? No. Do you want that bare minimum ass fucking husband to turn into a bare minimum father? No. Like, you just don't want that. It's just not good enough. And it's so okay to be really sad about walking away from these situations, and it's really okay to be sad and to say, like, I really did try everything. I really did communicate how I was feeling. I really did give him enough chances. I did everything that I could do. And if you feel like you have communicated very clearly enough times, there has to be, this can't go on forever. Do you know what I mean? You can't just be like hoping and hoping and hoping because he says he's committed. He says he wants to be with you. He says all the right things. You cannot just put your nervous system, put your mental health, put your physical health, put your future on this man because he says the right thing sometimes. That's not it. Like, that's not enough. But everything he does is like not correct. Do you know what I mean? He's just, I don't know. I've been in this exact situation, by the way. I've been in this exact situation with someone who was not replying to me, was not opening my messages, was busy doing something else, talking to other people, whatever. Someone who was connected to their ex and didn't give a fuck how it made me feel. Someone who was not making any real effort in the relationship. And I was very, very, very anxious. I was very anxious in that relationship. And again, I took on the blame of like, well, I am just a really anxious person. I'm just very sensitive. I expect too much, and I'm no. The way that I was reacting in those situations was perfectly appropriate. 100% perfectly appropriate. Guess who hasn't had anxiety a single day since I'm not around that situation anymore? It's me. I haven't had anxiety for a single fucking day since I walked away from that situation. So it isn't this like chronic anxiety disorder that I suffer from. My body was reacting appropriately to the situation that I was in. So it's like, are you anxiously attached? Do you have an anxious attachment style just like as your default nervous system setting? Or are you dealing with someone who has the emotional capacity of a fucking loaf of bread? Are you dealing with someone who invalidates you? Are you dealing with someone who has shown you so many times that they don't care about your feelings? Are you dealing with someone who doesn't open your messages and doesn't make you feel like a priority and doesn't make any effort and isn't considerate towards you at all? And in those situations, when you're dealing with someone like that, does it make sense that you would feel anxious? Does it make sense that you would feel anxious dealing with someone like that? My answer would be yes. I think as well as women, sometimes we do have a tendency to pathologize our emotions, to pathologize our reactions, our natural reactions to injustice or to mistreatment or something. And we're so quick to label ourselves as being broken or something's wrong with me, I need to fix myself, when in a lot of the situations, not all of the situations, but a lot of the situations, it makes sense that we're feeling that way because of how we're being treated or how someone else is deciding to handle us or treat us or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Okay, rant over. My advice would be to walk away. That would be my 100% honest advice. If you feel like you've communicated everything clearly, but maybe these are all thoughts that you're having in your head and you haven't actually spoke them out to his face and you haven't actually had like a really deep heart to heart about everything. If you feel like you've communicated enough and you have made yourself very clear, you've made yourself very, very, very clear, then I would definitely leave. And that's the reason why I felt really okay to leave my situation, because I was like, there's no way I can repeat this anymore. He can understand me. This man speaks English. He's 40 years old. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's not a child. He's not a baby. He can understand me. I speak very clearly. I'm not speaking in fucking riddles. And I have already explained this to him so many times over the space of a year and a half, 2 years, whatever. I have made myself fucking clear, and he has shown me that he doesn't care that he's hurting me. He doesn't care that he's hurting me. So why would I want to be with someone who doesn't care that they're hurting me? Why would I want to be with someone who doesn't consider my emotions at all? Why would I want to be with someone who doesn't care at all how they're affecting me? Like, why? Life is too short to be with someone who doesn't give a single fuck about you. Being single is not bad. Being single is really not bad. It's not a bad thing. And I know there's a lot of fear about walking away from someone or walking away from something, anything, whatever that is, whether that's like a job or a house or a romance or a friendship or whatever, because you're so used to the thing. Just because you're used to something and it's familiar doesn't mean that it's good. Do you know what I mean? And I talked about this as well in my previous episode, the ins and outs. Embracing uncertainty and being okay when not knowing what the next thing is. Being okay when not knowing exactly how your life is going to happen, and being okay with wanting it to look a certain way and being very open to how that manifests. Such as, we're looping back to the start of the podcast, I didn't want to sit in traffic, and how that manifested for me today was I slept through my alarms and I didn't go to the gym. So if you want a long-term romance, a partnership, a marriage, you want to live with someone, you want to buy a home with someone, that will still happen. That can still happen for you. And I would not recommend to do it with someone like this. Absolutely not. Hell no. You deserve better. You deserve better than that. And you can still have that life, whatever life you're dreaming of having with this person. Do you really want it to be with them though? Do you know what I mean? In a perfect world, and if they were acting like a really good partner, of course, but you can't customize your partners. You can't pick and choose. I wish he was better at communicating. I wish he was better at being thoughtful. I wish he would consider me more. I wish he would make more effort. Oh, yeah, we would all love that. We would all love that. But people are who they are, and some people fucking suck, and some people are just fucking horrible, and some people are just fucking assholes. And there's no need to deep dive on their... Well, maybe they're anxious because of this. Maybe they're anxious because of that. Who gives a fuck? Maybe they're avoidant because of this issue with their family. That's their shit to figure out. That's not my shit to figure out for them. It's not your shit to figure out for your boyfriend either. Let them figure that shit out. It's hard enough to figure that shit out for ourselves, let alone a giant 40-year-old man who isn't even interested in fucking sorting his shit out. Don't even bother. Don't even bother. If you want a life, a partnership, if you want a house and kids and a dog, and like you want that life, you can still have that life, and just be very open to how it arrives to you. You don't have to lock it in with this guy who makes you feel anxious and who has you feeling like you're shrinking and disappearing because you're trying to stay calm so you don't upset him and you don't rock the boat. No. Do not be afraid to rock the boat. Do not be afraid to speak your feelings, because who will benefit from us being quiet? Who will benefit from us shrinking? Who will benefit from us being uncomfortable? Who's going to benefit from us not saying how we actually feel? We're not going to benefit from that at all. We're not going to benefit from that at all. We're just going to shrink and become sick. That's what's going to happen. So big fan of rocking the boat energy over here. In this house, we're rocking the boat. We are rocking the boat. Also, this feeling of, I'm scared of him slipping away from me, so I'm trying not to put too much pressure on him. Like, I don't think asking for reassurance is too much pressure. And you also wouldn't need to ask for reassurance as much if he was actually just being a good partner. If he was actually just making you feel valued or making you feel considered in any way, you would not feel like, I need to ask for all this, I need to ask for all this clarity. I need to ask for all this reassurance. The need for the reassurance, the need to ask for reassurance, and the need to ask for clarity would completely, like, almost disappear. It would dissipate massively. It would get a lot smaller if he was just being a good partner in the first place. Do you know what I'm saying? So he might make you feel like you're putting pressure on him, or again, you're blaming yourself. I don't want to put pressure on him. I need to sort my head out. I should stop asking him for reassurance and clarity and And it's probably another way for him to kind of like throw that and dump that on you. But the way that you're acting and feeling is a result of, it is a response of, to how he's treating you and how he's behaving towards you, which in my opinion is a completely normal, natural response to dealing with someone who is acting like a fucking dickhead and who is treating us like we don't fucking matter. So these are all problems that he needs to solve, and if he's not interested in solving them, you need to worry about yourself, and you need to say, the only thing I can control in this situation is me. I cannot control him. I can't force him to care about me. I can't force him to text me back. I can't force him to make more effort or be more considerate. All I can do is communicate how I'm feeling, how he behaves, and how that's impacting me, and then it's completely up to him what he does with that information. Completely up to him how he chooses to absorb and respond to that information. If he gives a fuck about you, he will be more than happy to adjust and do better. And if not, then you have to decide, right, okay, I can't control him. I can't control him. I also can't keep shrinking myself in order to keep the peace with this broken man who isn't even doing anything for me except telling me he's committed sometimes. Is that it? Really? No. So eventually you need to stop focusing on what your partner is or isn't doing, and you need to focus on, why am I still here? How can I get myself out of this situation? How can I slap myself in the face gently and wake myself up from this and really see how bad the situation is and how much more I deserve it. But also, if this is any way dysfunctional, toxic, or I'm not sure if it's an abusive situation, maybe emotionally abusive, I don't know, but it's really difficult to get out of those situations, and usually it takes about 6 or 7 times before someone does actually manage to fully escape or get away from those people. It doesn't come easily. It doesn't happen overnight. So I have a lot of empathy for people who are in relationships with really shitty people and they haven't found the strength yet to leave. I have endless empathy for that. And I know there's like this thing on TikTok where it's like, stop telling us about your shitty husband, we don't want to know. But I actually think it's a really good thing for women to share these problems, even if they're not ready to leave yet. I think it's a really good thing that women have the internet and they have thousands or hundreds of thousands of women and men also being like, get out of this situation, this is really bad. And I love when men also chime in and they're like, I've been married for 20 years, I would never treat my wife this way, this man does not like you, this man does not like you. I think it's amazing. And even if that woman isn't ready to leave yet, at least she's getting on, you know, she might be gently opening the door and the realization in her brain that like, this is really bad and I've been used to this for such a long time that it feels normal to me. It feels normal to me and it's really not good and it's really not normal. So I'm a really big fan actually of women bleeding all over the internet, opening their hearts, pouring out, talking shit about their husbands, and even like men as well doing the same thing. I'm a really big fan of that. And even if they're not ready to leave immediately, maybe they're on step 1 and you need to get to step 10 before you're actually ready. So the woman who sent me in this question a few months ago, she might have already left him by now. I don't know. If you're listening to this, please send me in an update and maybe I can give everyone an update, because I think you sent this in like August or something. So potentially there is an update, because it is now January, the end of January, almost February. So it's been August, September, October, November, December, January, 6 months, almost 6 months. So we want an update. The girlies want an update. But anyway, yeah, we can't control other people. We can absolutely let them know how they're affecting us. We can let them know how their behavior is impacting us, and they can choose to take that on board. They can choose to care about that. And if they don't care, then they don't care about you. That's the bottom line. And then it's up to you. What am I going to do? Now I know that my partner doesn't care about me. Now I know that my partner is way more interested in protecting his fucking ego than he is about actually apologizing and changing his behavior and doing better and being a good partner. If he's not doing that, then why the fuck am I here? I need to get myself in the brain space to like really take note. Every time this happens, I'm going to give him the grace and the opportunities to change and do better. And if he shows me over and over again that he's not changing and he's not doing better, then why are we in these situations? Life is just too short, and life is already like so stressful, and you want your relationship to be like a really soft landing. It shouldn't be the number one source of your stress. It should be the number one stress alleviator, in my opinion. And if it isn't, if it's like the number one reason that you're crying, if you're crying all the time about your relationship, you don't have to be there. You don't have to be there. You can go. It's not mandatory to be in a relationship. It's not mandatory to stay with that one person. And yeah, hell no. Fuck that. No. And again, give people the grace, give people an opportunity to learn and do better by communicating and letting them know that they're impacting you. And whatever they choose to do with that information is completely up to them, and you can't control that. You just have to think about yourself at a certain point. You just got to think about yourself and get some hobbies. Get more hobbies. Anyway, I have to go collect my son from school. So I only got to answer one question on this episode, but I'm glad to be back and I'm glad that you're here. And if you wanted to check out my other YouTube channel, I'll leave that link below. Everything will be linked below. If you want to send me an email, I'll leave that link below as well. And maybe I can answer your question next week. So I'm really glad that you're here, and I will see you on the next episode.